Hey Crystal, alright, so here is your past life spread, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at where we are, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day, the death, and the lesson learned, and we'll get hints of time throughout. And basically all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions I'm getting, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can from what we're looking at here to your current life, and I'll try to help however I can, alright? So let's start here. Where we are is it's Asia here. There, can you see that? There we go. Yeah. So we're starting in Asia, and when I laid this card down, obviously there's like Asia encompasses a lot, okay? So I'm trying to, see where exactly we're going here, but what does come to mind is it feels like a wartime, and because what's happening is, like, I'm seeing this, like, soldier dressed in this weird attire because it's, like, obviously a soldier, but it's not, like, modern, I guess is the word, so he's not wearing, like, modern soldier attire, but it feels like it's feeling like, oh, okay. It's like, kind of like Mulan. It's just kind of funny. But like those kinds of clothing where it's almost like a robe. Like, it almost feels like, well, it kind of looks like a robe that they would wear. So I'm trying to see too if I'm actually seeing the person or if they're just showing me that for referencing time. Because you can also Google certain things. Like, so for detail, it feels like it's like the shape of this person would be more like angular, sharp, triangular for that kind of, like, for whatever they're wearing. And if there was any like head attire, like a helmet, which it feels like they're like, that's what it looks like it's coming across as, it would be like a more triangular shape than something that's enclosed around the head. So that's kind of odd to me. So, but it might be very helpful if there's something that can actually be found, like if you Google that. Okay, so I'm trying to see what we're doing here. So for what you did for the majority of your time, we have the food card, and that is just, it can mean so many things. It can mean that you're in the food industry. It can mean that you're, it can mean you're a mother taking care of a family and feeding a family, that kind of thing. So it just means that you're involved in food a lot. So I'm just trying to get some clarification on here. But in the meantime, the kind of connections you can make can simply even be, have you had any interest in, like, Asian cultures, not like Russia, but like Asian, like when we think of Asian, we think of like Japan or China or Mongolia, or, like very, that kind of thing. Even like, honestly, it might be like Vietnamese comes to mind too, so we could be looking there as well, but we're not looking anywhere in modern. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is with the connections, if you've had any like pull towards any of those places, but not like even to visit, it can even be like decor, art, language, food, certain things like that. So if that speaks to you, great, and if not, that's fine. Let's just keep moving along. For the food thing, I'm trying to see, because I feel like we're looking at someone who's involved in the war. Like, even if the war isn't reaching everywhere, I feel like we're looking at someone who is like in the central area of it, or if not fighting, then part of it in some way. And quite frankly, what's interesting is I feel like they're showing me like a male soldier, but like I feel like we're looking at female life, and it feels like this is someone who is feeding the troops, if that makes sense. It feels like somebody is there, it's almost like with her family, feeding the troops. And I don't know how it was done back then, but it feels like it's more open air, like an open air, like almost like a open air canteen kind of thing, where they come and they all get, for mealtime, and there's someone serving this, and it's there's a feeling of it being like a volunteering kind of thing, even though your family or you are getting paid for it. It's also like you don't have to be here, but you chose to be here because there's something like patriotic or like really optimistic about these troops, like something about like believing in their cause. So it also actually might be because I feel like there might be like, maybe like your brother is in there kind of thing, and it's a way for your family to kind of stay together. That's what it kind of feels like. So in your current life, one, if you have if you're pro-war, it's not pro-war, pro-troops. Like if you feel like it's not even, it doesn't have to be super strong, but like for example, either one, you could be part of a military family. It does, and again, actually, you don't have to be pro-war, of course not. But what I mean is like pro, that thing where military families are so involved in each other's life, the community, the loyalty, the encouragement, that kind of thing that you find with military families. That's what it feels like. So in your current life, again, if that speaks to you at all, it could just simply be that you were born into a military family because that would feel familiar to you. On the flip side, your soul, having experienced this before, would come back and incarnate as somebody who is like, who doesn't care at all and doesn't want to be part of anything having to do with the troops because your soul already experienced this. So now your soul wants to experience the opposite or something else. So you see, you can make various connections in that way. Also, this can also have to do with, in your current life, someone who feels very bonded or tied to their family. Bonded is more positive, tied might have more negative connotation, but it's basically just someone who is attached to their family. Also, you could be protective over your siblings or close friends. You could be a protective kind of person. And also having to do with expectancy with the family. There's something heavy about the family and taking over family business, or being expected to do something by the family, or getting your what's it called, like your what's the word, like proud, like making your family proud of you. Like that might be very important to you. Also, their opinion might be important to you, so that means also potentially that if that's the case, you could be someone who's a people pleaser in this life and who might actually compromise your own values or your own desires for your family or those around you or those you care about. You might actually give over your power to them. And if that's the case, I feel like this is coming up to kind of remind you that you don't need to do that because you've done it once. So you don't need to do that again. And this time you're coming back to kind of take power back or be fully empowered in your own desires and fulfilling your own dreams and things like that. So that could be coming up for that reason as well. On the flip side, if you're not that way, you could, because you're that way here, you could be coming back in this current life as someone who is fully empowered and is totally in charge and doesn't listen to other people or care about other people's opinion, or doesn't let her family or close people walk all over her kind of thing or dictate what she does. You know what I mean? So we have a couple of ways this can go. So just keep that in mind. Also, the food industry can be a connection as well in any way. Here, the first important day, the first card we're looking at here is, I'm trying to get the light on it. It's a snow day. It's our first snow day today, so you're getting snow day light, which I just thought was really nice, but now I can't really see the cards. Okay, so here we have the so long farewell until we meet again. And this card is usually when people leave, or someone's leaving, someone's watching someone leave, someone's expecting someone to leave. Just trying to see what this is. The relationship involved is friends, and the feeling card involved is held back. And I feel like what we're looking at here is a day when it's like they're leaving. I feel like these troops or whatever, they're leaving, or a segment of them are being sent to the, what do they call it, the front lines or whatever. So it feels like there's a group being sent. And obviously you're not going, your family's not going, you stay back because you're not part of it. But I feel like there's people in this group that you know. It could be like such close friends. It could be the brother, if the brother is there. It's just that there are people you know that are going, and you feel helpless and kind of like useless, even though you have use because you're feeding a lot of people. So it's almost like there's something in that, like in your current life, do you not see what good things you do? Do you not give yourself any credit? Do you not pat yourself on the back enough for the things that you do? Are you more focused on the things that you can't do or don't do or won't do, or things that you're unable to do or that you haven't achieved. Like, where is your focus? And I feel like this would be coming up to remind you to keep your focus on all the good things that you've done, on all of your achievements, because the more you focus on all that great stuff that you've done in this life, things even as simple as being a good friend, you know, that means the world to someone. So focus more on those things, and the more you focus on those things, the more good stuff you're going to bring in. It's that whole law of attraction thing. It's what you focus on, that's what comes your way. So stop focusing on negative things if that's what you tend to do. If you live in the past, if you are hard on yourself for things you've said or done or decisions you've made, get over it and move forward and start focusing on present moment and forward, because otherwise it's going to hold you back, and it's not good. Obviously, like, it's time to move forward, and you have so much opportunity in this life versus this time period where you're stuck with your family under their thumb. You can't, I mean, even if you wanted to fight, you couldn't because you're female. So I feel like this is also being brought up for the purpose to show you, hey, you are living in this modern time period with all these opportunities and freedom to do what you want, whether you're female or male. Like, take advantage of it, right? So the next important day here, we have the Conquered. They have come card, welcome card. It just means there's people, like new people around, and we're not sure why they're here yet. So let's see what's going on here. Now the soulmate card comes into play here, which is really interesting, and it doesn't always mean romantic. And then here we have Oh the Horror. Whoop, whoop, there we go. Wait, there. Oh the horror card. Okay, so I'm trying to see what this is, because I feel like you lose people, whether it's that brother or the friends, I can't tell, but it's a close connection. I feel like there's a loss involved. And I don't know if it's actually the loss of the whole like war kind of thing, because I don't know. Honestly, I don't think your side loses. I just think your family loses, or you lose, because I feel like people were lost on the path to victory. So that's really interesting. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of torn feelings involved when your country or your nation or your army, whatever it is, your side is victorious. So you're celebrating that, and yet you've lost people, and so you're grieving. And it's the weirdest kind of combination of feelings to have, because it's like, what do I feel? What's appropriate? There's death involved with this victorious outcome. Like, that's so confusing. So you're seeing everyone celebrating around you, and yet there's this like feeling of just like loss. And that's interesting. And however you can make connections with that, please do. I'm trying to see what it could possibly be related to. Feelings of, it's almost like you may be someone that doesn't allow yourself to fully take in the victory of your own achievements or accomplishments. You might feel like the other shoe is going to drop. You might walk around with that feeling like if something's going so right, you're expecting something to go wrong. And if that's the case, I feel like this would be coming up just to kind of like ease your mind and let you know that you're not going to go through this again. And, you know, in the case that you go through a loss or something, you know that you can get through it because you've gotten through it here. And that's why we look at past lives too. It's so you can really understand that you've been through so much already that it's in your like memory banks of your soul. It's in your soul memory. So it's the kind of thing where you can tap into the energy of your past lives and pull out what you need from it, such as strength to get over a lost one, right? Like, that's why we're shown this, so you can understand, like, oh, I've done this before, I can do it again, I've got this, you know? So I feel like that comes up for that reason. And I feel like there's something else about this though, because there's something about like losing a loved one. It might mean in your relationships you might find that you could be clingy. Not that that's bad, it's just a word that we associate with negativity, but you know, clingy, like you want to always be with someone, you always want to be around them, you almost like there might be like this weird underlying feeling of loss. Like you may have this weird underlying feeling in your life of being left or abandoned by people you love. And if that's the case, if you've felt that and you don't know where it comes from, it would stem from here too, because even though that these people or person died, they couldn't help it. Obviously they didn't want to, but dying, that's leaving someone, that's an abandonment of some kind. And that would be quite normal for someone to take that in as the feeling of abandonment, even though it's not intentional. So you might actually have a fear in your current life of being abandoned, even though there's no reason for it. No one gives you the reason that they're gonna leave or do anything, you know, or never speak to you again, whatever it is. You just might have a fear someone will, and you don't know where the fear comes from, and just know you don't have to fear it anymore. It's time to really just let that go. If you can just like let it go, because you're not going to experience that again at this level. And again, you've already been through it, so you can handle that kind of thing. There's also, what was the other thing? It might be, and because of that fear of being abandoned, you might actually find, again, this comes up, that you may be a people pleaser. You might compromise your own desires, even as simple as, okay, let's go eat where you want to eat. You know, where you don't get to eat what you want to eat because you want the other person to be happy, but you might do it all the time. So if that speaks to you in any way, I know that's like a weird example, but you know what I mean. And if that speaks to you in any way, that would be coming from here as well. And if it doesn't, that's fine. But just know that's where it could be stemming from if there is something like that. Here we have the death card, and the death card is the disease card, okay? So we're looking at a disease. And it's interesting because I feel like the thing that you do, like the food thing, is the thing that ultimately gets you, because I feel like you ate something that it wasn't, like there's bacteria in the, like something, like basically, sorry, I know this is weird, it's hard sometimes to articulate. Basically, it feels like it was any other day and you're eating a meal and something got in the food that got into your tract, and I feel like it was a bit of like a poisonous infection kind of thing from the inside, almost like a poisonous bug or some kind of poison, you know, but it was unintentional. It's just something that I feel really sickened your insides, and it's interesting. It does. It feels like it's like a poisonous bug got in, or like it's almost as if as if snake venom found its way into your wine and you drank it and died. Like that is it's a random thing, but it was an accident of sorts. So in your current life, how that might translate over is, one, if you have issues with digestion, or if you have food allergies, if you have any allergies really, if you have food sensitivities, if you have any issues with your like whole tract, when it comes to like from swallowing to going all the way down to your stomach, and bowels. So if there's any issue you experience, like even what's it called? Is that IBS? Yeah, the irritable bowel syndrome thing. If you have IBS, if you experience anything like that kind of thing, where it would have to do even like gosh, what's it called? Not heartburn, but like acid reflux or things like that, like things that are funky when it comes to digesting things and that whole area. If that's the case, if you do have anything like that, it would stem from here. So we come to the lesson here, and it's a really great lesson. Let's see if we can see it. There we go. It's the let go. So the let go lesson, a lesson in letting go. And I feel like really what that is speaking to is, I feel like it's about like letting go of this, quite frankly, because if some of these things spoke to you, as far as certain fears you might have, and certain ways you might be around other people, certain ways you treat yourself because of others, and it might even feel like it's selfish to start like catering to yourself in that way, but it's not. Like, you're here for your life. You need to experience it. So if you are a people pleaser, if you do compromise, if you do have these fears of abandonment in a way that it makes you act a certain way that isn't fully like representative of how you want to express yourself, you need to start letting go of all these things, because once you let go, you might like think like, my life is great, I'm totally happy, everything's great. But if you actually do experience some of these things and are able to let them go, on the other side of that is like bliss. It's like full on bliss. So even if you think everything's great and happy, when you dig a little bit, and if you find anything that is holding you back in any way and you're able to let it go, you can meet such incredible potential for this other level of happiness you didn't even know existed, you know? So I feel like we're just kind of looking at that. I feel like that's why that comes up, is we're looking at a message for you to start letting go. And whether that means anything else than we've mentioned, it could be even just letting go of the past, letting go of toxic relationships, letting go of fears, letting go of self-doubt, just these things that you feel that may come to mind as you hear this. The things that are coming into your mind as you hear this, those things. Start letting go. And it's great because we're coming up to a new year. So like, let that be your motivation, and just start, like, do a monthly thing. Do a monthly ritual where you just like write down the thing that month you want to let go of and burn that paper and feel the release of it. Like, sometimes a ritual helps. And I used to not like be into that at all, but I can tell you it's helped a lot of people. So that might be helpful for you. But anyway, I hope that speaks to you. And there's your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to make some connections. And thanks for letting me read you.